Monster Hunter Rise is the newest Monster Hunter game out now. It's also the first dedicated to the Nintendo Switch from the ground up. This is the total package, offering smooth onboarding for new players, depth and complexity if you want it, plus potentially hundreds of hours of gameplay. There's a certain speed and fluidity to Monster Hunter Rise that I haven't encountered before in these series, so running into battle at full speed on the back of your Palamute canine buddy, jumping in at the right time and swinging your weapon, whether it be a sword or an axe or a hammer, right into the huge monster's face. And you land and pull off some seamless combo to finish the hunt. Well, actually, I don't think I've ever managed to pull off that seamless combo, but you get my drift. Monster Hunter Rise is the latest addition to the Monster Hunter family, which exploded in popularity since the release of Monster Hunter World, and Monster Hunter fans probably would protest, saying this was hugely popular long before World and Iceborne were even thought of, but Monster Hunter World took it to new levels in the West. So Monster Hunter Rise does a great job following up, and now you have the added bonus of playing on the go, or on the sofa, or in bed on Nintendo Switch. Well, the main gameplay loop of Monster Hunter is the same, although there are so many tweaks and improvements here that mainly focus on the speed of battle. So, as a newly qualified hunter, it's your job to go out there into a hunt, pick a choice of weapon and buddies, and then battle to the bitter end, where fights can end in capture or in death for the monster. I haven't yet captured the monster, and I probably should. You know, there's something very satisfying in taking down the huge monster and making a new pair of trousers out of their hide. Well, there's loads of monsters to fight, so you've got 14 weapons to learn, Palamutes to train, and a village to save, and there's potential in here for many, many hours lost in the hunts. One big drawback of Monster Hunter games in the past has been new players' ability to get into the games. You know, there's so many systems, characters, terminology to learn that it all can be a little bit overwhelming. The monster battles aren't a walk in the park either, although some would argue that Monster Hunter Rise is actually a lot easier than previous Monster Hunter titles. But sometimes you can be banging your head against a brick wall trying to defeat a monster for about 50 minutes, only to faint on your final attempt and you have to do it all over again. But Monster Hunter Rise does a really good job of adding plenty of quality of life updates, and although the game isn't quite as stunning as Monster Hunter World visually, it is still a very good looking game on Nintendo Switch. Well, the stars of the show are the monsters themselves, and there's 30 plus monsters on the release of Monster Hunter Rise, and there's more coming, and I think the first update is at the end of April 2021. Now, the range of monsters is very impressive. You've got your standard dragon-type monsters. There's a lot of variety here in Rise, with bears, duck-billed beasts, lizards, there's kind of a monkey crossed with a bird, monsters that can fly, monsters that live in water. There's loads of variety here, which means battles always tend to throw something new at you, and sometimes actually quite literally throwing stuff at you. But as well as the large variety of monsters, there's a good variety of places to fight those monsters in too. So you've got your swamps, your hills and your mountains, your snow-covered terrain, you've got your deserts, and much, much more as you progress throughout the game. Now, the verticality of the levels was something that struck me too, which is all now easier to reach thanks to one of the biggest innovations found in Monster Hunter Rise, and that is the wire bug. The wire bug is a grappling hook of sorts that you can make appear on command, allowing you to jump, evade, and even help you jump on the back of monsters and ride them around, or force them to attack other monsters for you in the form of wyvern riding. The wire bug really helps out with the overall pace of Monster Hunter Rise as well. There's still times you're going to be trudging around a monster if you pick a heavy weapon, but the wire bug gives you the ability to jump into the sky, fling out a grapple and fly towards a monster, putting on a spectacular move before pounding your weapon into their face. And much like many of the other mechanics in Monster Hunter games, it does take a little bit getting used to, but it definitely is one of the biggest improvements over other Monster Hunter games. Monster Hunter Rise gets you going nice and quickly and into the hunt straight away. And if you're new to the franchise, there's going to be a lot of tutorials, reading and practice to get to grips with things early on. But don't be afraid to try out the range of weapons on offer, as each weapon helps the game feel fresh each time. You know, whether you're an expert with the dual blade, the hunting horn, or the switch axe, there's a variety in there that's going to keep you coming back time after time. There's a few key things to learn about Monster Hunter. You know, you need to understand your weapon, understanding the monster and its attack patterns, and also your environment too. So there's a decent training mode in the game which will allow you to get to grips with your weapon of choice and learning the environment in terms of flowers and things you can pick up to give you an array of buffs throughout the battle. You know, at first it is all a little bit much. However, stick with it because soon it'll all become second nature, and monsters themselves may seem large and ferocious at first, But after a few hunts, you will understand that there's a set pattern to their attacks, so learn the attack patterns, combine that with some useful combos and some buffs with your selected weapon, and you will be absolutely golden. There is a story campaign, although it is fairly light on the actual story, and really it's just a vehicle to get you going into battle. So you go around the village talking to NPCs and then back into battle again. There's a multiplayer hub where you can team up with other hunters, although you can get through these sections quite quickly. And during the campaign, I tried to split my time evenly in the village quests, which is kind of like the single player quests, and the multiplayer quests, which is the hub. It's really up to you how you take on these missions. So another great addition to Monster Hunter Rise is your Palamute, or your little dog friend. You know, we've had cats in Monster Hunter for ages, but now we've got mounts, which once again, like the wire bug, do add to the pace of the game, making it feel fast and fluid. So jump on the back of your Palamute and chase down that monster, and it helps reducing the frustration when a monster decides to run away during battle. You know, they still do this, but at least now you can chase them down on the back of a speeding canine friend. And yes, you can pet the Palamute in Monster Hunter Rise. You know, another good thing about the Palamute is you can perform actions whilst riding on their backs, like sharpening and recovering health and stamina. Palamutes are an absolutely fantastic addition to the game, and part of the quality of life package that helps elevate Monster Hunter Rise above other versions of the franchise. So as well as your Palamute, the familiar Palico return, your little cat friends. They help out in battles, offering up some damage and other buffs to help you, meaning when they're paired with the Palamute, you've got two buddies in effect, helping you out in battle. So there's a buddy system in the game where you can find new buddies, you can train them, and even send them out on errands in little submarines, where they're going to be gathering resources and items while you're away on hunts. Rampage events are another new feature in Rise, which is similar to a kind of tower defense mode, where you're trying to defend the village, and you've got mounted guns, and you're trying to take down multiple monsters at the same time in a kind of small space. I didn't really find this mode as fun as the main gameplay loop, but it is a nice little side attraction. The package of improvements here in Rise can't be understated in terms of how they affect gameplay, and I think the speed is the main impact. So getting in and out of battle, using the new wire bug to jump into battle, and then also to mount monsters and use them as weapons, it all adds up to a much more fun experience than I've had before in Monster Hunter. So I've not spent as much time as I would have liked with the Monster Hunter franchise, however Monster Hunter Rise feels instantly better and more satisfying and a whole load of fun. There's still hurdles to overcome for newcomers, like understanding the nuance of the weapons, learning about armor and crafting, plus overcoming the difficulty of the hunts themselves if you're not used to it. But Capcom appear to have lowered the barriers to entry in the game to get you straight into the action. I think as well some more experienced Monster Hunter players have commented that Rise seems quite easy, although this could be Capcom trying to get players to experiment with various weapons and things like that. So if the whole playing field is easier, then so is experimenting with loads of weapons. So to be fair, Capcom haven't added the high rank mode into the endgame yet, so we'll see what players say about the difficulty when that comes out. I think there's definitely enough detail and depth to keep you around and then hook you to come back for more time and time again. Now I've still got loads more to discover in Monster Hunter Rise, but I find myself thinking about it even when I'm not running around the world. You know, I'm looking up weapon guides while I take my daily walks, I'm actively seeking weapon tutorials to try and understand new combos or how to unleash more powerful attacks. And it's always a great sign if a game gets inside your head and you're thinking about strategies when you're away from the screen. You know, the simple fact that I can now take Monster Hunter away with me on my travels is really, really great. I'm really enjoying my time with Monster Hunter Rise, and I'd recommend it to anyone who has a Nintendo Switch. You know, it's got the potential to be one of the best and the biggest Nintendo Switch games out there. You know, the learning curve may be steep, but the rewards are huge if you can push through those small roadblocks. The game's charming, it'll make you laugh at times. You know, there's the pain of defeat and the triumph in a successful hunt. It's really got the whole package. You know, you can get by scratching the surface of a Monster Hunter game, but it's only going to get you so far. These games are designed with hundreds of hours of play in mind, and I'm finally starting to understand why there's such a fervorous fan base of the series. And I only wish that I discovered this earlier. Well, the game was developed and published by Capcom. It's available on Nintendo Switch, although it is coming to PC in 2022. And it first came out on the 26th of March 2021. Well, that is it for my review of Monster Hunter Rise, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. If you want to join the community, check out the Discord link in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks again, see you in the next video.